smart metering as an example, electricity metering, or if you want to do massive scale asset tracking, sensor applications, this is where our technology really shines.
So it's Eamon here at ipXchange on the second day of Embedded World. We're here at the Wirepas booth with Oula, and he's going to tell us about their 5G mesh technology. So Oula, take it away.
Hey, good to meet you, and welcome to the Wirepas booth at the Embedded World 2023. So you have found the company which makes the best mesh for IoT. For example, these kind of devices, these can autonomously connect to each other. So what is our technology about? The technology what we are providing today is an outcome of 23 years of research and development. 10 years academic research and 13 years as a commercial development. So we really know what it takes to make a good mesh for your IoT devices. Let's just give you some idea of the scale of what our devices can do. We have close to 1 million devices in a single network. Imagine 1 million devices in a single network, no infrastructure, no base stations, no subscriptions. So typical use cases where our technology is really, really good. Smart metering as an example, electricity metering as an example, or if you want to do massive scale asset tracking, sensor applications, so this is where our technology really shines. So what makes our technology different compared to some other technologies, that our technology works in scale. So typically, customers, technical device manufacturers, they make a proof of concept or maybe a pilot with some limited number of devices, and things seem to work well.
Okay.
But once you go to the market, once you go to the actual mass deployment, then that's typically where the problems arise. Things don't scale. But we have proven that our technology is super scalable, super reliable, and it gives you the very low cost of total cost of ownership. So what do we actually provide? We provide a wireless technology that can be embedded into the different kind of devices. This specific device I have in my hand is from our partner Nordic Semiconductor, and this is running the world's first non-cellular 5G mesh communication, which is based on the new DECT NR+ standard. So you can imagine you have a 5G device which is connected to the network, but there are no SIM cards. And that's the magic of our technology.
Yeah, that is different.
That is different. So we have, for example, these two devices, these are actually talking to each other without SIM cards, without base stations. So you can imagine that you have full control of your own 5G mesh network, as an example. So you must be now curious that, okay, how do I get my hands on this?
Yeah, of course, that's what we always want to hear.
Yeah, so there are a couple of different ways to get started. First of all, I mean, if you're like a design house, you can just buy off-the-shelf development kits either from Nordic Semiconductor or from Silicon Labs and get an evaluation license from us and get your hands dirty on the actual technology.
Nice.
Or if you're more oriented to test some sort of a use cases, you can buy ready-made evaluation kits from some of our customers, which can be from our partner customers, which can be found from our website, wirepas.com.
Cool. We'll definitely put some of that links in the description.
Any questions I could answer at this point?
I guess you've answered most of what I'd like to hear. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the booth and how they're all working together and your different types of connectivity suites?
Yeah. So the magic behind our mesh is that we have a one single SDK, and you just choose the hardware profile you want to work.
Okay.
So typically the SDK is coming from the chipset vendors, but we are providing our own SDK. So the beauty with the one SDK across all the different profiles, what you see here, we have a sub-gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and the 5G mesh, is that you can actually do your application development and you don't need to worry about the actual hardware profile underneath, because we have done the abstraction.
Nice.
And this is actually very, very useful. And we know that in the past 12 to 18 months, we've been struggling with the component shortage, for example, for Bluetooth radios, as an example. So our customer, they have the freedom to go from one silicon vendor to another without having the impact to the actual software development. Because, for example, if you're using Nordic Semiconductor or our Silicon Labs, which is our another chipset vendor partner, we are sharing the same SDK. So the development is very fast. And that also gives you the market flexibility, so you can adapt your hardware depending on the supply of the market, which is very powerful as we see today.
Yeah. So I guess your solution is both supply chain resilient to an extent and very easy to integrate, and you don't have to redevelop when you change your supply chain. Yeah. So very useful.
And I think another thing for time to market is that what we offer is not only the connectivity stack, the mesh, but we actually also provide a lot of features which typically has to be developed by the customer. So we have developed those on behalf of the customer. So whether you talk about network monitoring or provisioning, over-the-air programming, just to give you some examples. So in principle, if the device has the right network credentials, you power on the device and it will connect automatically to the network, which is super handy from installation perspective. So typically, the people who are installing IoT devices to the end customers, they're not necessarily so techy, but they don't need to be techy. Yes, so even a cleaning person can do the installation for the sensor devices, which are based on Wirepas, as an example.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's a very thorough explanation of Wirepas's technology, clearly something very different that we haven't talked about before. As I like to always ask the people we interview, how are you finding Embedded World now that it's the second day? How's your first day?
The first day was very good. Embedded World, from content perspective, is the place for us to be. Nice. And the very difference between the Embedded World compared to some other exhibition is that at the Embedded World, we as a Wirepas, we are quite well known. So the customers, they don't ask that what we do as a Wirepas. They go directly to the technical questions that how do you differ to some other technologies. Because if you go to some other exhibitions, and there are plenty of other good exhibitions, they come and ask, what do you do? At the Embedded World, they know what we are doing. So they are really interested on the technical details. So this is the core place for us to be as a Wirepas.
Oh, nice. Well, that was Oula from Wirepas, and thank you for your interview. That was very good, very informative. Yeah. Thank you.
I love that interview that Eamon has done with Wirepas. Pretty impressive software that Wirepas produces to be able to do 5G mesh networking without SIM cards and without access to a base station. Very unusual and very interesting. So you can find out more, as always, on the ipXchange.tech website, where you can learn more about the Wirepas software and also their hardware development partners, so that's Silicon Labs, Nordic Semiconductor, and everything else you need to know. Enjoy.